Mr. President, there are many reports from the front lines that Russia is gaining ground. It's gaining ground slowly, at great price, but it is gaining ground. What is your report from the battlefield? What is your sense of what the state of the battlefield is right now?
Thank you for this question. Let's start by talking Ukrainian, and then we'll see how it goes. So first and foremost, the battlefield. Crystal clear, the situation is not easy, and it's complicated by the numbers of the enemy, the number of drones, the way the technology is evolving. Today, one technology is working, electronic warfare. Tomorrow you have another drone, so you change the lines of drones, the electronic warfare, a lot of things. But it's very important to understand. First and foremost, we control the front line. All of that is just ungrounded claims that Russia is moving on the east. I know that there is a lot of such information. I've heard that in the White House, Mr. President, there is a lot of such information. The Russians are desperate to increase their disinformation. They are way better in disinformation than on the battlefield, honestly. There are more Russians than Ukrainians, and that is their advantage. That is true. But I'm sure that they're using so much disinformation about the East because they understand that they will break in the East. That's the strongest grouping they have there in the East. But between us, I think that in the nearest day or two, we will see completely different information. But let our military and our staff comment that the Russians are under very harsh circumstances in the east of our state. Yes, it is not easy for our men there. I have great respect to everything what they do, but the advantage they have is only in military power. There is some advantage in weaponry. On the east, the situation is most difficult there. There were offenses on Sumy, Novopavlivsk, Pokrovsk directions. In my view, all offenses that were there during the last 2 months were failure for Russia. They were repelled, and they understand that crystal clear, which is why they strengthen the information pressure, and they will continue to do that. What I heard in the White House, how they move on the east and that in 3 months they will occupy the east of our country, that's blatant lie. They did not succeed in doing that in years. We just need to clearly understand the details. Unfortunately, I must say that the leaders should understand, should get the gist of those ideas, not from the media, but from their intelligence services. And it's preferable that their intelligence have daily consultations with intelligence of Ukraine directly from the battlefield. So we understand where there are many of them. They want Pokrovsk, Zaporizhzhia direction, but those are their desires. They will do everything to have 3, 5, 10 men to go to that village or there to put their pitiful flag there, but afterwards they will be destroyed, and there will be no presence, their presence in that village. So they have no success on the battlefield. There is pressure coming from drones, military exercise in Belarus, etc. They will try to conduct several offensive operations. If the partners support us, I am confident in our armed forces. I think that our closest strategic partners will soon come to understand that as well, that there is no possibility to occupy East. And that means that it cannot be any bargaining chip, no. That's how I feel. Because of the legislation, because of the constitution, and because of morality, simply by talking humane way. but they will understand that they will not have that factual opportunity. Thank you.
So President Trump had a meeting with President Putin in Alaska. He seemed surprised that he was not able to get Putin to agree to a deal, either to a ceasefire or to a longer deal. Were you surprised that no deal came out of the summit?
I'm not aware of all the details of this meeting. I know probably a bit more than there is there in the open sources, but nonetheless, we do not know many details. We can simply analyze, parse the trilateral meeting in Alaska would provide way more possibilities to ceasefire in Ukraine. Not because of my personality, but simply because Putin used the bilateral format to delay strong steps, tariffs, sanctions, etc. Any steps, supplies of additional weaponry for Ukraine. So that is the same event that took place in Turkey. The steps were delayed. Yes, because of the meetings in Turkey, we have managed to bring back thousands of people. That is very important, to bring back your people. But about the end of the war, Putin clearly agreed to prisoners' exchanges to delay the steps of the United States of America, on which we very much counted on. That is his Russian plan of soft power, right? Because he understands, he's cognizant that the more meeting he has with international leaders without Ukraine, the sooner he will exit the diplomatic isolation, and that will soften the rhetorics, the sanction policy, and honestly, the weapon supply for Ukraine as well. It can lead to weakening of this direction. But how prepared is he for peace? I think he's demonstrating. I'm not. I'm talking about Poland for a reason, and there is Minister Sikorsky here. We all understand why he's doing that. I foresee that it's to test the temperature. Like, now the isolation has slightly passed by. Can I do this? I think that he got the response that yes, it's possible to do something. And then the question, how Europe is prepared? What else do they have? How prepared are they for some even partial escalations? So he's testing that, and before winter he is giving that signal, like, Europe, don't be in a rush to give air defenses to Ukraine. That is the case that can be as well his move.
So, President Zelensky, you're saying that President Trump wanted some kind of a deal, and he didn't get it. What Putin wanted was to delay sanctions, to delay any further measures that were taken that would pressure Russia, and to pretend that he was willing to negotiate. So wouldn't you say that Putin, in a sense, got everything he wanted from this meeting and Trump did not?
It's hard to say because, again, I do not know everything.
I don't know all the topics of their conversation bilaterally, first of all. So I don't know who from them got something or everything. I don't know, really. But I think that for Putin, it was successful meeting. First, with the President of the United States. Second, on the territory of the United States. Third, he got images with the President of the United States. And he didn't promise for ceasefire, but again, maybe he promised something to President Trump, I don't know, but he didn't. So, and he postponed sanctions and postponed any strong pressure, what really Putin understands that Trump can do. Right. And he showed it not on Russia, on other countries. He showed what he can. So that's why I said that I think that it was mostly more successful for Putin. And then China. And in China, it's understandable, their relations with Xi Jinping, it's understandable. But there have been not only Xi Jinping, yes, I think more than 20 leaders. And I think this is also, again, the step of the isolation of Russia, of Putin. Yeah, and that's why my questions, what next?
You said you're not sure what was debated, what was discussed and agreed to in the summit.
I don't know.
President Trump called you afterwards. What did he tell you?
I had so many conversations with him. Really, I don't remember all the details.
You've become a very good diplomat.
We'll see.
How is your relationship with him?
With President?
With President Trump now?
Very good. What can I say? I think that we have good relations with the United States, with the President Trump, and right around him a lot of different voices. The question is, for me, if you mentioned that I'm becoming not bad, yes. So in my way of view, to do some voices louder and some a little bit far away from President Trump. I think this is a part of my mission. By the way, and yours. Yeah, I mean that all the journalists and society and publicity, all of us, and we have influence on the United States and on the President Trump. It's important to speak more and more, and all of Europeans, and I know, and Alex has a lot of contacts, a lot. Become, Alex. I didn't say how much. I said a lot. Yes, contacts with President. It's all this is very, very important.
There are people in the United States who say, look, the Ukrainians need to recognize they're not going to get that territory back. And if Putin wants all of Donetsk, if that is the price of peace, if Ukraine can be sovereign and independent and a member of the West and Europe, so give away a little bit of territory. And I ask you this because there is this view in America. What is the response? Why not, if you really want peace, why not accept, at least for now, maybe not legally, but accept the reality and say, we will take as much as we can in order to get peace.
Я не впевнений, я скажу вам чесно. I'm not, okay, I can in English. I'm not sure that in the United States people support this idea. Like Americans said, the swap the territories. Because people really recognize territorial integrity of Ukraine, and they know the price of all these battles from the very beginning. I mean, more than 11 years ago, and high price from the very beginning of full-scale invasion. And we know that we can't trust Putin. He will not stop. And I'm sure 100%, not even 90%, that he can stop. What we will have, we'll have NATO between us after Poland. What does it mean? So we respect NATO. We want to be in NATO, but we don't know how NATO will react. Then we want security guarantee. By the way, I mean, not all the countries support our membership in NATO. Why we have to speak about it for today. And that's why we began to speak about strong security guarantees. When we began to speak about security guarantees, all of us speak about real security guarantees after ceasefire. So if we don't have ceasefire, why we speak about anything else, about territories and etc. So there is the order of the points of discussions. The first We need meeting with outcome of ceasefire. And he's not ready for the meeting for today. It's true? Yes. Then all the questions which are already in our constitution. But if they want to speak, we are ready to speak on the level of leaders. If he wants to speak about territories and about some historical crazy things and etc., I'm ready to speak with him, but not through Americans, not through Europeans. With their support, yes, but not through. It's our land, it's our people, it's our nation, it's our history, our identity, and that's why I really, if Ukraine could have from the very beginning and even now, if we can have all the power we need, we cannot speak with him. But I'm ready for speak, for dialogue. We supported the dialogue from beginning, from Jeddah, when President Trump proposed it without any issues, any reasons to postpone the meeting. I said, yes, we support. Then Turkey, so many, a big number of different meetings, phone calls, and etc. Really between us, exchange of prisoners. Again, I'm underlining this is important, but no meeting, no ceasefire. It's meant that not enough pressure. From whom? From President Trump, from Europeans, from the world. We need this pressure on Putin, get meeting. Yes, I'm ready. Yesterday we spoke with General. Yes, we're ready for the proposition of President Trump. Let's do trilateral, then bilateral. Let's do bilateral, then trilateral. But we are ready not push technical teams. Yes.
You're ready to meet face to face with Putin?
Yes, face to face.
You mentioned...
Sometimes we need it, even if we don't love faces.
You've mentioned the NATO, the Russian drones in Poland several times. Do you think NATO failed? What should NATO have done to respond to that attack?
Я не вважаю.
I do not believe, I don't think that NATO has failed.
Всюди, де є НАТО, війни немає.
Everywhere where NATO is present, there is no war. So we understand that there's a strong alliance, strong allies. It's simply that I believe that now, when there are such signals coming to NATO countries, and let's be honest, during this war, there were no such massive attacks on the territory of NATO countries, but there were cases with Romania and Poland. So it's not the first time. I simply believe that there must be a response to him. The signals, we don't say here that NATO must use this or that weapon. Nobody wants to expand the war. Nobody is talking about that. At least, I'm not the one to talk about that. We're not a NATO member. We're simply warning, and we're saying that strong answers are needed, strong response. For example, we'll give Ukraine certain weapons that Ukraine never had. Why? Because there are drones flying and Ukrainians cannot down them, and some of them land on NATO countries' territories. So we'll give Ukrainians the weapons that they have asked all along, and that weapon will hit not the drones, but the facilities, factories where those drones are being produced. It's not about NATO. It's about Ukraine. That's it.
Let me finally ask you before turning it over. Do you have a message for President Trump, if he's listening?
I think he's sleeping now. It's too early.
You never know.
No, I think too early even for President Trump.
So if he were awake, what would you say to him?
Let him sleep.
You really have become a good
We will have
diplomat.
connection a little bit later. I think so.
So let's get a few questions from the audience. And if there's a comment or an observation, it's fine. Just keep it brief. The president is already a bit behind his schedule. Jonathan Powell, the National Security Advisor of Her Majesty's government, is here. Jonathan, I wondered what you make of all this. Can we make sure that somebody gets a mic to? Yep.
I have a question, Mr. President, about the security guarantees. Obviously, the best security guarantee for Ukraine after the end of this war will be the Ukrainian armed forces. They've demonstrated how remarkably courageous and effective they are, and they'll need to be built up and supported. But what beyond that? What are the most important security guarantees you think that you need and would make a difference to stop Putin coming back and trying again?
Дуже дякую, Jonathan. Yeah, we had with Jonathan so many conversations about security guarantees. Our NSAs, Andrei, you, Bon, and other our partners. Just you to know that when we always say that the most strong security guarantees for Ukraine is Ukrainian army, yes, it's true, but it doesn't mean that we don't need your troops, Jonathan. Yeah, so I mean that we know each other, and our army, yes, but it's not enough. We need capabilities, and we need financing for our drone and electronic warfare production and a lot of things. So strong army, it's not only basing on our possibilities of Ukrainians. Yes, it's our soldiers with their experience, war experience, but also it's money, and it's about different instruments what we need. The second, and the corridors of not only for funding and also for possibility to buy American weapon, European weapon, and our production, our internal production. So this is the point one. The point two. And so we are finding something similar, something like NATO-like, Article 5-like. Yes, and this is I think this is very good, but this is at the same moment, this is dangerous because we need to put everything on the paper. Because when we speak about NATO, it's understandable for everybody how it works. And that's why when we say Article 5-like, always we need to answer what does mean like. That's why we work hard, and I'm very thankful to you and your contact with Andrew and to all the participants, all NSAs. I'm happy that you are here, and it was a good idea to have a meeting here. And that's why we need to put all the details. Between us, we know. We don't share with media, but we know already that we have a lot of details on the paper, and I'm happy that we have it. But, I mean, we're in dialogue. That I'm very supportive of the idea, but not very happy with the number. Yeah, but I think this is a point of dialogue because we are in the war, and our partners support us, but they understand what the price of all this. And the price is very high. That's why we need this money, and it's difficult to find all these budgets. It's understandable. So Article 5. And of course, you know that the presidents on the ground, in the sky, or in the sea of our partners, it's a big political support for Ukraine. More boots on the ground, it means more flags. It's not about that troops, it's not about hundreds of thousands, yes, but it's a big political support and big pressure on Russia, and this is very important because it's unbelievable if Russia will start again the war against so many countries, which representatives are here in the sky, on the sea, or not or, and the land. So this is very important. Then we always speak about sanctions. The package of sanctions, one of the instruments, yes, and we need it in security guarantees. Very understandable number of points and senses how it will work if they will come again. And reconstruction, and we spoke about it, reconstruction, plan, Marshall-like, again, yeah, and of course money for this, which is very important because when we speak about security guarantees, we know what does it mean, energy security during the war, to renovate all energy system and a lot of different things. This is very important. and of course, EU. This time not like real membership in Europe and the date. Something has to be concrete. We need not only plans.
Radek Sikorski is here, the Foreign Minister of Poland. Can we get him a mic that works?
Thanks. Fareed, before we develop this narrative about how NATO failed when 19 Russian drones invaded Poland's airspace, let's just be clear what happened. We shot them down. Mr. President, you know that most of Europe is behind you, but it's the United States that has the power to tip the balance in this war. And as you know, there are those in Washington who feel that assets should be moved to the Pacific. There are those who feel that the US should keep to its hemisphere. There are those who would like to do a business reset with Russia. There are also those who are tired of forever wars and who are wary about an open-ended commitment to Ukraine. So my question is this. What would it take for President Trump to give you in terms of political support, in terms of sanctions, and in terms of military hardware, and for how long for Putin to recalculate his position and his war aims so that you could make a peace with him that Ukraine could live with?
Дивіться, шановний пане міністр.
Esteemed Mr. Minister, the situation is as follows.
Коли ми говоримо про санкції.
When we're talking about sanctions,
Санкції важливі.
sanctions are important if they are on time
Дуже детальні.
and very in-depth.
Наприклад, ми говоримо про санкції, це
For example, when we're talking about sanctions, it's not only about President Trump. With all due respect, it's also about European countries. If Russia is receiving components for their missiles, then we cannot even raise the issue. How long would it take? What we need? If Russia constantly receives components for its missiles from various companies, of course, it's not on the state level. The leaders of America are against it, but it's private market. They are getting the components for their missiles. They increase the missile production in Russia. If they have had import substitution, right? But here it's not about import substitution. They are getting those components from other countries. We can say that they are dual use, etc. The private sector does not want that, but they are selling it massively. So here there is no solution except to put sanctions on private companies of any state, and this must stop the supply of components for missiles, Russian missiles, by the way. There is no other way to deal with it. No time frames, nothing. This must be done, and then in some time, Russia will not be able to produce as many missiles per day. If we're talking about factories, the facilities that produce drones, artillery, helicopters, and so on and so forth, the countries are supplying the machinery. Not only China, other Asian countries, European countries, they have been supplying before the war, but those laces and machinery, they're there. I don't want to make suggestions, right, to how to stop the supply of Siemens machinery from the distance. It's working that way. That's the digital software. I just don't want to be rude, do not want to offend anybody. I just want to list this example with sanctions to answer your question as to when it will end. If it is not stopped, it will not end.
Що стосується далекобійну зброю,
As regards long-range fires, we were at the moment when
Сполучені Штати і інші партнери
practically the United States and other partners were thinking whether to give Ukraine long-range weaponry or not, and we have found our own. As of now, we have our own long-range capabilities. We just lack financing. Is this a question to Mr. Trump? It's easy to say that this is a question to America, but it's the question to everybody. Let's be honest. There is financing for drones, and I'm not saying that to mock any of the partners, but it's not a solution, right? 800 shaheds per day. How to change this situation? Can we do that? Yes. Is there an answer? Yes. 100% one. For 800 shaheds per day at Ukrainian territory, we need 1,600 Ukrainian interceptors, at least 1,500, because or at least 500 interceptors. The price of one interceptor is 3,000 euros. That is the answer to how to stop the shaheds. And so that Russia does not want tomorrow to send 800 shaheds. We must send 1,000 drones to their territory to retaliate. That's 1,000 drones. That's what has to be done. Are we retaliating? Yes. How many? 10 times less. So that is the answer there. So that to make them feel that we must respond likewise. So what we need from the partners to counter shaheds, we need financing from our partners. These are not global decisions. These are fast decisions that must be done today. Why today? I respond. We down shaheds with interceptors. They already have reactive engines. We now need another interceptors. Tomorrow they will find a new weapon, and we just need to respond. In the same way, I believe, Vadik, it was a mistake when President Biden did not give us invitation to NATO. I think that was a historic mistake. That's my opinion. Why? Because you can take us to NATO, or you can be not ready for that, but to simply give, but you just gave up that instrument. Simply gave up to the Russians. Just gave up. So, and there are so many examples like that. What's needed? We understand what's needed. For every Russian step, we have the response. For each of their production, there can be sanctions. I think that probably we just need a desire.
All right, we have a final question from Trey Yingst of Fox News. I'm not sure if Trey is here. I see
nice
yes.
To see you, Mr. President. First of all, I'd like to follow up on the minister's question and ask you, from your perspective, what role should the United States play in implementing security guarantees for Ukraine that were discussed earlier this month in Paris?
Thank you so much. First of all, we can have security guarantees if we will have ceasefire in any case. Otherwise, partners will not come on our land, and no illusions, just the fact. That's why America is the first, and President Trump is for today, either one who can push Putin to dialogue. And outcome of our meeting can be one or another format of stop the killings. A truce, ceasefire, we can call it how we want, but we understand the result. This what President Trump can do, maybe only him. The second point, that then we will have security guarantees. And when we have our partners, again, if we really want to have strong security guarantees, strong troops, and big number of our partners in Ukraine, we need backstop from the United States. Without their intelligence, without their air defense, possibility to buy Patriots, to have jets, F-16, modern generation and etc. Without it, it will not work. Maybe not too much, but enough to stop this war. Thank you.
But you don't need the United States to be part of the guaranteeing force?
No, we won't. I mean, we won't, but they can provide what they really have, and nobody has. I mean, this shield air defense. I mean, this anti-ballistic systems. For today, has only one country. This is United States, and a big number, huge number. And you know, when you productions, we have this line of productions. We know the dates. I'm not ready to share the days when our system will come, but United States, what they can have a dialogue with other countries who ordered it 10 years ago, 5 years ago, yes, and the United States can give us this priority also, not only to have Patriots, but it's important to have it tomorrow, not in 10 years or in 20 years. We know a lot of countries who paid money. It's a big production. It's a huge production, but 50, 60 missiles per month. Even for Ukraine, it's not a big number, but this is their real volume for the world. Yes, that's why we need a lot of things. Yes, to increase production, to have licenses. So not just thank you for Patriots. It's not enough. A lot of things which goes parallel with it.
Mr. President, thank you. You've been
Thank
very
you so much.
frank and
Thank
very
you.
passionate.